record. Thank
We
you.
can see the screen, Amy.
Great. So I'm going to tell you how to drive retention, which ultimately comes down to building habits that stick. I want to start by learning about you. What's your background? Real quick, you already practiced in the chat. Tell me which of these is your background or something else. Take a moment, type your answer, into the chat. Let me go back. Sorry. What is your background? Business analyst, engineering, keep going. Agile consultant, excellent. Product management, excellent, excellent. That's really helpful. Scrum master, all of these. Keep going. I want to know your background. Whatever it is, if you know how to build habits that stick within your role, you have a product design superpower. And that's what I've learned. And I'm going to tell you just a few things today that can get you started. But let's start with a story about a startup with a hot idea who managed to raise a lot of funding. I want you to imagine what it would be like if you had an always-on AI friend that you could talk to anytime in your pocket on your mobile phone. Well, this startup wondered and built it. They raised tens of millions of dollars. They had amazing PR. They had over 2 million downloads in their first 2 weeks. 7 months later, low engagement, very bad retention, and a real lack of clarity about who the market was. The mental model was opaque. It was such cool tech. They wanted to be everything to everybody. So they let you customize what you wanted this replica, this AI friend to be. Spiritual, spontaneous. People got really confused, and it also brought in so many different people with different use cases. And they had a plan and they got punched in the face. They were really struggling because when you build that much great tech and then have terrible retention, you are bleeding time and money because that's what it takes to acquire those customers. And if they don't stay, all of that customer acquisition goes to waste. That's why retention is so critical. Nobody ever sets out to build a leaky bucket, but it happens a lot. And this was one example. Real quick, have you ever been part of a project that you had great hopes for that just turned into a leaky bucket, had poor retention? Have you ever dealt with poor retention? If you have, type yes into the chat. Oh, yeah. Yep. All right. So that is why we're here. It's really hard to drive sustained retention. It's literally the hardest thing in product development. At first, it seems like tracking and rewarding behavior and gamification. At first, it seems like that's going to work. This is on the left, you see the standard behavior mod loop. There's some cue, there's some routine, might even be unconscious, and you reward it to increase the behavior. That's behavior mod. Nirial's loop is very much built on that with a little extra. And a lot of gamification is also built with these core ideas. But it turns out that it backfires over time. It does lift your stats initially, and it backfires over time. Replica found that out the hard way. The thing they tried first, well, actually not first, but they put a whole bunch of energy into points and badges. They defined all these badges and, what you could achieve, et cetera, et cetera. And indeed, it lifted their stats. They thought, wow, we solved the problem. It did not drive long-term retention. There was a fall off. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. More importantly, it didn't help them figure out who the app was truly serving and focus their efforts. And that was the key to unlocking success. Have you ever seen gamification backfire? Have you ever seen external rewards backfire? There'll be time at the end to tell me about it. Type in if you have. I bet some of you have. I have so many stories from my students about the leaderboard that was so hopeful and yet didn't do it. So why does this happen? Why do external rewards backfire? Well, That's a longer conversation. The book Drive goes into this in great detail. It's a great book. But basically, when they're introduced in the wrong way, they interrupt your intrinsic motivation. They literally can cause kids who used to love to read to stop reading for pleasure. Now, feedback is different. Feedback, which we're going to talk about more here, can amplify intrinsic motivation because it can help you get better at something. Just external rewards don't do that. They manipulate your attention and behavior. This is a key issue. So, how do we build sustainable habits? How do we tackle this? Key idea. I'm going to go deep on it, but if there's one thing I want you to take away from today is if you can help your customer make progress towards something they care about, that is going to unlock sustainable habits with some other infrastructure. So I want you to ask yourself, think about what you're working on. Maybe think about a previous project. What do the hottest of the hot core customers, your very best customers who need it the most, what do they want to get better at? So let me show you how we address this issue for projects that I've worked on. eBay, which I worked on very early on, people needed to get better at finding trustworthy sellers and buyers online. Trust is a huge issue. And frankly, trust still is a huge issue online. But back in the late 90s, it was even more so. So we had part of the system design of eBay, the reputation system, which I worked on a lot, is to build trust in a way that is real and that people can count on. What about Ultima Online, massively multiplayer MMO that preceded and influenced World of Warcraft? Well, people wanted to get better at living out an increasingly rich fantasy life. We had crazy retention because there was this fantasy life that just unfolded and it got better and better the deeper you went. What about The Sims, another project I worked on from the start? Well, we tried a lot of things. We ran a year of tiny experiments, a lot of which didn't work. And what we found out was there was this core loop, this core experience of experimenting with the family simulator and seeing what would happen with different setups that just knocked it out of the park. And it generated so much storytelling. And that was a key to the virality of what made that successful. What about Rock Band, another project I worked on? Well, what do you want to get better at there? You want to play the songs you love with friends and have a good time doing it. Not just listen to it, but get inside the music and play it. That's what Rock Band delivered. Really hard to do, but worthwhile. What about Netflix? This is a more modern take on what you get better at. It's more similar to TikTok. As you use Netflix more and more, what you actually get is better and better recommendations, which is also how TikTok works and how many other social media systems work. Covet Fashion, a very unexpected hit. The people that play that get better and better at putting together high fashion outfits out of beautiful clothes that other people think are cool, which is a very fun game to play for certain folks. What about Happify? That's a mental health app. Maybe some of you are working in mental health or physical health. People want to get better at taking control and lifting their mood. They want to develop those skills. We'll talk about that more in a moment. That turned out to be key to Replica. What about Tonal, which is the Peloton of weightlifting? People want to get better at sticking with their workout. That's the biggest issue. That's why people hire trainers. And so that was a key issue in designing the progression system of Peloton. What about custom makeup app for Shiseido, the makeup giant? Have any of you heard of Shiseido? Hey, my ladies, you know the Shiseido brand? So I worked with them on this amazing custom makeup app. And it turned out the thing people needed to get better at was ordering the right shade of makeup depending on what time of the year it was. And once we locked into hooking up with seasons, boom, everything worked. Each of these innovative hits figured out how to build habits that stick. And today I'm going to show you how you can too. So back to Replica, the AI chatbot that unfortunately built a leaky bucket. How did they do it? How did they build habits that stick? Well, we started by looking at the entire audience and putting them into cohorts and narrowing down on a very specific niche of hardcore superfans. We then clarified the mental model, which was very confused, into an AI companion or friend who cares for you. And the reason is The hardcore super fans we focused on are people really struggling with mental health. It turned out there were some people that were sticking. There were some people that were retaining, and they were people that needed it. They didn't just think a replica was cool, they needed it. So we honed in on that and went for the mental health angle, which was, by the way, very controversial, big fight inside the team and, in fact, inside the board. But we went forward. And then we designed compelling activities and a lightweight journey and a path towards success so that people weren't just playing around with a toy, but in fact, following nudges and guidance so that they could improve their mental health. More on that later. Now, it was very hard work, but finding our superfans gave us tremendous focus, and it let us understand the motivations, behaviors, and habits of those specific people, not everybody. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we could leverage that and clarify the mental model around that rather than trying to be everything to everybody. Ultimately, Replica is now number 9 in health and fitness. I just checked this. And has in-app purchases that it's monetizing and turned the whole ship around. No longer a leaky bucket. So what are 3 habit design hacks that you can use, that Replica used, to turn short-term engagement into long-term retention? Number 1, find and focus on your superfans. Who you listen to and who you ignore can determine whether you thrive or fail. It doesn't just apply to startups. It's every project. You can never be everything to everybody. There's 3 key traits. There's lots to say, and we train people on how to do this, and my associate Ambakesh trains people on how to do this. But these are 3 key traits that I want you to keep in mind. Superfans have the problem that you solve. They have the problem. For instance, Replica. This is what we heard again and again. Okay, it's 1 a.m. I'm anxious. I don't want to bother my friends. Who can I talk to? I need to not spiral. That's a problem. They know they have the problem. Superfans don't need to be convinced they have the problem. It's top of mind. For instance, let's say you're talking to someone, they say, I've been browsing the app store and asking around and looking for an app that could help me feel better. That's somebody that knows they have some problem. Third key trait, through their behavior, not their aspiration, through their behavior, they show you they're trying to solve the problem. For instance, maybe you're talking to someone and they say, I've tried a few AI-based mental health apps, and it kind of got boring after a week or 2, and maybe this one will be better. That's a person who's trying to solve the problem. And it turns out there's 20 AI-based mental health apps. So if you design for a small group of high-need superfans, you will radically increase your odds of success. Habit design hack number 2, habit stack your core loop. Okay, let me take that apart. What is habit stacking? Habit stacking is something that everybody in the habit world talks about. James Clear talks about it in his book, Atomic Habits. You guys read Atomic Habits? Tell me in the chat, type in. Love that book. BJ Fogg, my friend, he talks about it in his wonderful book, Tiny Habits. Habit stacking is really core, and we fully embrace habit stacking. If you're a gamification engineer or an agile coach and you want to build habits that stick, this trick here will unlock much more power than all the gamification in the world. Habit stacking is simply building a new habit on top of an existing one. Say you're brushing your teeth. That's the classic example. You floss afterwards. That's a habit stack. Let's say you're commuting to work. Well, you want to learn a language. You decide you're going to do Duolingo on the bus. That's a habit stack. Let's say you're sitting down to work, getting into it. You look in Slack to see for your unread messages, what's going on. Let's say you're feeding the cat. You want to get more exercise. Maybe you turn on music and dance around. That's a habit stack. Let's say you're walking the dog and you want to improve your skills and improve your strategy. Maybe you start listening to podcasts while you're walking the dog. That's a habit stack. Again, go back to what do my hardcore customers want to get better at? And then you pick habits related to that. So back to Replica. Replica superfans, the people we focused on, they want to get better at managing their mood and their anxiety in particular. So the habit is, it's 1 a.m., I can't sleep. Who can I talk to? And what we did is designed in our onboarding a really easy way to say, hey, you can always talk to me. Imagine it's 1 a.m. I will be able, you just tell me what's going on and I'll talk to you. Now, Slack is interesting. Just to show you a different example, Slack superfans want to get better at collaborating with a distributed team. That's where Slack came out of. That's why we use Slack. And so that habit, okay, I got my coffee. I'm at my desk. It's 9 a.m. What's my tea nut to? Slack habit stacks on that existing habit. That habit existed before Slack, but Slack is a great way to make that habit better, smoother. That's what you're looking for. And that's what Replica did. Habit design hack number 3, craft a compelling journey. Don't throw a bunch of badges that don't go anywhere at people. Think about 0 to hero. Think about where they're headed, even if it's simple, extremely simple. Think about what your customer wants to get better at and help them get better at it. That's what a good journey is. Because every journey starts with a person. There's a person in there who wants to make progress towards something they care about. And ultimately, habits that stick are about personal transformation. If a habit isn't involving that, people will get bored and they'll stop doing it. And so going from beginner through newcomer, regular, and expert is, in a sense, think about your use of Slack or any tool like that. We all go through that. And the other thing I want you to really understand, this is really going to help you. Every transformation, every choice to try a new tool, to do something new, starts with a struggle. It doesn't happen without struggle. That goes back to why superfans are so important, because they're struggling. The people who aren't struggling, you're not going to convert them. Bob Mesta, who's actually going to be one of our special guests in our upcoming programs. He's amazing. You can go to gamethinking.io/Bob and get a great free cheat sheet. He says, he's a jobs to be done guru. He says transformation happens in the struggling moments. And a struggling moment is where the circumstance gets to the point where someone needs to change. They're ready to change. Most people aren't going to change. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. That's why habits are so powerful. But some people get to that struggling moment, and the combo of the push of the situation and the pull of your solution, a new idea, come together to pull them across the bridge. And those are the people you want to look for. That is the process of getting people to use and engage with and form habits in your product. So using the jobs to be done format, which again, we go deeper in, but this can really help you think about, well, how do I apply this to my product? You identify a trigger. For Replica, the trigger is I feel anxious. I need to talk to someone. That's the trigger in our hot core superfans, right? That we want to solve. You identify the trigger, the struggling moment, right? Oops, sorry. And then what do you want to do? You want to chat with someone who knows me, who gets me, and ideally is available anytime. And the desired outcome. So I can get things off my chest and feel calmer and more stable. The desired outcome is a little mini journey from anxiety to calm. That's what people want out of this. And if you can deliver that, a lot of things could go wrong, but that's the most important thing. For example, people told us after we made these changes, now when I feel anxious, I know I can talk to my Replica. And I'm really getting good at feeling better. Remember, what does your customer want to get better at? People that use Replica want to get better at managing their mood. So remember when I said we had a confusing mental model? That's a huge issue. That, like, if you're wondering what's wrong with your product, sometimes that's the issue. And we clarified it. We said no to a lot of things. And we said, okay, it's an understanding friend who gets to know you. And we have a whole, back-end AI on the gets to know you. And then we added things like AR, and you can dress that friend up and go on a walk. Why did we add that? Because what's one of the best things for mental health? Getting outside and taking a walk. And so that was one of the things that came out of this clarity in the mental model. Also, microtransactions. So in summary, these are the tips I want you to take away. First one is find a narrow niche of hardcore super fans who fit the definition I told you about. That will, you can always address more people later. Habit stack your core loop. Think about how the most common session, the re-engagement loop in your product. Think about how it fits with your customers' habits and build your product. Do some research. Build your product around an existing habit. I have seen this transform failure to success again and again and again. Third, craft a journey that helps people get better at something that they care about. Even if it's extremely simple, that one thing is going to help you build habits that stick. Now, if you want to learn more about how to do this, please feel free to get my book. I know that also exists on the Indian Amazon. This is a link to it. And if you want to go deeper, we run a quarterly boot camp that is coming up in a couple of weeks. And in that boot camp, we teach you how to set up smart experiments that run you through getting this data, step by step, how to find and understand your superfans, how to build a learning loop on top of existing habits, which is what we talked about so much today, how to roadmap and validate your ideas so that you build engagement from the inside out instead of a leaky bucket, and how to study your competitive landscape with game thinking teardowns. Some of you, maybe many of you, you're not quite there yet. You're not ready for all of this. If any of you have been following me for a while, or you're, boy, oh boy, do I need that, go ahead and check out gamethinking.io. And if you want to message me, if you want to ask me a question, if you want to get access to weekly live sessions with great folks like Ambikesh, who's here, who is hosting a live session next week, and a local workshop here in India, go to the hub, gamethinking.io/hub. It's free. It's our learning community. And we give you a lot of great resources and also special deals on our programs. How did I do on time? Yes, there's time for Q&A. So there you have it. Those 3 tips can transform a struggling leaky bucket into a successful high retention product.
Totally makes sense. So guys, it's open for questions and answers. What questions do you have?
Ambikesh, hi. Could you introduce yourself?
Hey, hi everybody. Yes, Amy, I've been part of most of the sessions since morning, and afternoon, and it's been a great day of learning. Started off with our friend Rob, so talking about gamification, and it's been a great learning journey and meeting all these wonderful people here. Hi everybody, I'm Ambikesh. I'm based out of Mumbai. Hi, DP. And thank you so much for inviting me. And it's been a great fun experience. Fun is the right word. I love playing the games. And yes, I've been associated with Amy for a few years now, and I'm actually the first certified game thinking coach in India. And in addition to that, I'm also one of the founding members of Game Thinking Asia, which is a community of coaches in the Asian subcontinent and the APAC region. And thanks to Amy, we have covered a lot of ground in the last few years, and we've had some wonderful experiences turning some projects around. And I have a session which is coming up in the month of August, and as a special gift and a thank you for the invite to the FUNCONF members, you're all going to get a special discounted offer, and I'm going to share those details later on. And the FUNCONF team, Nikita and Deepthi, will take care of that. They will share those details with you, and I would love to share this wonderful methodology that Amy has created, which which just drives to the heart of how you create engaging products. Amy, of course, has picked up a lot of tricks in her vast experience. She's picked up tricks from game design. She's picked up tricks from systems design, agile, lean UX, design thinking, and created this wonderful, simple methodology, which even a novice like me was able to understand. So I'm sure all you super people in the agile world will be able to do wonders when you have these tools. So I'm excited to share that with you.
Thank you,
so much.
Ambikesh. So I want to encourage everyone to reach out to Ambikesh, and in particular, he's giving a talk next Tuesday in the Hub. So please join the Hub and join us. I'll be there, and it's we're very invested in your learning. Let's do some Q&A. Who's up first? Hello, does anyone have any questions?
I think people look much settled after the whole day. They are feeling very much content and definitely.
Okay, great.
So I think, yeah, Amy, tell me something. As much as it looked simple, those 3 steps, it must not be easy to do. It must require
No,
a lot
it's
of
not
each
easy.
step.
So this is a very clear, straightforward methodology. Executing it is not easy.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what.
not going to lie. Now, part of what's great is Ambikesh is an expert at finding your super fans, and he can attest. It's definitely not easy, and sometimes it's easier than others. What's great about the methodology is very iterative, and so if you like hit a wall, you go around it. But no, it's not easy, and if it was, it wouldn't deliver results. Right? Nothing that delivers huge results is easy.
Actually, and then the other part must be investment also. Then it must require a good amount of investment, isn't it? When businesses always require money, and when we all
Well, it
Yeah.
depends. You can find your super fan. It's actually really cheap because you can spend a lot, but frankly, especially the finding your super fans part, which unlocks everything else. It's incredibly cheap. You do outreach. It's just your staff, your internal staff. So for instance, let's say you have like an agile coach and a product manager and you want to do it. You can do it. It's you might spend a little bit of money on in the methodology, but it's orders of magnitude cheaper than hiring a research firm, just orders of magnitude. It's a fast, effective, cheap way to do research, but it's not easy. But it's executable. So and you're right. A lot of times where I get pushback on with people is not so much the investment of like, how much are we going to spend, but the time.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we just want to like design the thing. And I'm like, okay, I've worked on a number of worldwide hits. I'm a very, very senior designer. I would never do that without doing this research part up front because of all the reasons I told you. And so when I'm working now, I have the tools, to talk to people. And frankly, if somebody doesn't want to do that, I screen them out because that means they're absolutely committed to doing something stupid, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, because it's, if you're focused, you can do it in a couple of weeks. And what you get out of it is you save months of time. So boom, you save months of time and your arrow goes much closer to the target.
Yeah.
That's the investment. So it's more of a time and a mindset shift. And I have so many stories about like when people don't do it and then what happens. But it's actually one of the cheapest ways to get highly useful data you can take action on.
Makes sense. But yeah, I mean, we all operate out of assumption that, oh, we already know our super fans. We know our target customer, isn't it?
Most people don't.
Yeah, we don't. Actually, we don't. But we mostly feel that, oh, we
right.
already know.
Yeah. Part of why people do that is because this kind of thinking with really narrowing in on your super fans, it's common in the very best Silicon Valley startups and game studios. Like I teach it to game studios, but the very best ones, they all do this. And it's nowhere to be found in design thinking. They just don't give you those tools. It's like, oh, let's do crazy eights. Let's think stuff up, right? Let's talk to customers. Let's get out of the building. 90% of the time, people talk to the wrong customers. Like, and they think they know it, and they're like, oh, and so, right, you're right. And so the reason I'm so excited about this, and I'm so excited that Ambikesh is spreading the word with Jackson in Malaysia and a bunch of folks in Europe, a bunch of folks in South America, it's worldwide. It just friggin' works. It speeds you up. It gets you closer to your target. It's missing from other design systems, and it just works. And here's a recipe for doing it. But it's a mind shift.
Yeah.
Because people think they know, but like, that's fine. But if you think you know and you're struggling with your product and it's not doing what you need to do,
exactly.
you're not, here's the other thing. You're not going to solve that problem with the same tools that led to the problem. You need to try something different.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
That's something you can take back to your work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what is resonating. That's what I'm hearing. Thank you. So guys, last opportunity. If you have questions, you can ask.
Okay, I have a question. So what would be the biggest challenge in using this methodology? Like, what do you think is the biggest challenge?
Well, it's the biggest challenge I see is when you use it and go all the way through to, after finding your super fans, we have more steps for testing your core concepts in a sort of storyboard form, like early testing of your ideas or your new features you want to launch or blah, blah, blah. And what I see happen sometimes is that process delivers market truth. Like because of the way the filtering's done, because of the way the testing's done, you actually get data you can trust. And especially if there's an entrepreneur, or it could be someone at a big company, but more often I see it with entrepreneurs, who's really, if you're in love with your idea and market truth doesn't say your idea is wonderful and beautiful, let's puff it up. Market truth says, well, this part works, but this part doesn't work. Sometimes people freak out. Market truth can be brutally hard to deal with emotionally if you're very invested in your idea. And what I also see is that that's the moment where the wannabes and the great entrepreneurs are separated. Because I have worked with great entrepreneurs, and it's never easy, by the way. Like, these are complicated people. But at that moment, when market truth comes in, the great entrepreneurs go, wow, that hurts, but I love it because I want to make this work for people. Give me more. I'm going to iterate. Because that's what anybody who's doing a good job does. A lot of people, though, that market truth comes in and they're like, I don't like this method. I don't think these people know what they're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe you've seen that. And then that is not a great entrepreneur. That is somebody who's got a fragile ego around their idea. But that's common. So there's a lot of other struggles, but that's the one I see that can turn a project south and send it spiraling around the drain.
Oh, great.
Because that attitude is never going to get you a product that people love.
Okay. Amazing.
Right?
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Okay. So I guess that's it then. We are also at the end of the time box. Thank you so much, Amy, for taking out the time and coming here.
Thank you so much, Amy.
This was wonderful. I hope to see you in the hub, and where we can all connect. And I'd love to keep this conversation going and support your learning and growth.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We do really need that. Yeah. And Ambikesh, thank you so much for joining, and do looking forward to have more conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Probably do more. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just have to say this. I can see your voice has gone down, but I love the energy that you maintain throughout the session, and more power to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy, for taking out time on vacation. Thank you so much.
I loved being with you all here together. Thank you for everything, and I'll see you in the hub. Remember, next Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. is your talk, right, Ambikesh?
Yep.
So maybe
9:30
I'll
a.m.
see some of you there.
Yes, we will be
Yes,
there.
definitely.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
great evening. Bye.
You have a great time. Bye. All righty, beautiful people. Thanks a lot for staying. Yes, since morning till evening, our participation has dropped on, but that's Zoom fatigue and it's okay. No offense taken. And I guess my audio is back. I didn't realize all the blame should be gone to the microphone. And so. So yeah, so I wish you guys great day, great evening, great night. Thanks, Ambikesh, for staying till the whole end of the day, and I
My
hope you all
pleasure.
had fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye,
I hope to see you
everyone.
everyone.
guys soon.
Bye. Good night. Go, guys. Go. It's night. Go. 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 Bye. We are the host. We can't go before you all.
Yes.
And got the Google form, Corrado. We definitely will provide feedback. Everyone, check the chat. There is a feedback from the Dark Star game, the DS Builder. Thank you. Thanks. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. So let's close the call then, Nikita. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.